A pivotal year 4 for Shane Beamer awaits in Columbia, South Carolina. These are 3 bold predictions for the Gamecocks entering the 2024 football season. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Hit that bell icon as well so you get notifications of when we go live and when we drop new video content, which is each and every single day. Also, guys, check out the podcast. It drops daily on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on social media, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you get your content. And, of course, check out our website, SECUnfiltered.com, for all the latest from us. This segment's brought to you by our friends, guys, over at RHOBACK. Head over to RHOBACK.com. Use the promo code SECU for 20% off your first purchase over there at RHOBACK. You see, guys, I'm rocking the RHOBACK tee. Everything from T-shirts to polos to quarter zips, pullovers, you name it, guys, they've got it. And it's some of the most comfortable gear I've ever worn, guys, whether I'm around the house, I'm at the golf course, I'm at the tailgate, I'm at the ball game, whatever it is, guys. You've never felt something like RHOBACK before. Hey, they've also been partnering with some major figures in college football. Alabama's quarterback Jalen Milroe, former LSU head coach Ed Orgeron. Guys, simply put, I love this stuff, right? RHOBACK has come on with SEC Unfiltered as a business partner, but they've earned a customer for life in yours truly. Again, when you feel this stuff, guys, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about, and we've got a special deal for you over at RHOBACK.com. Promo code SECU. Again, that's RHOBACK.com. Promo code SECU, 20% off your entire first purchase. Quarter zips, hoodies, pullovers, T-shirts, you name it. They've got it at RHOBACK.com. South Carolina enters a huge season for Shane Beamer. It's a pivotal year for the Gamecocks as they look to bounce back and get back to bowl eligibility and more after a tough 5-7 campaign in 2023. These are 3 bold predictions for South Carolina in the 2024 season, guys. And number 1 is this. Coming into a season in which you lose Xavier Legette, you lose Mario Anderson, and you lose Spencer Rattler, QB1, RB1, and wide receiver 1 are all gone. The Gamecocks will enter this fall looking around, asking themselves, who are our top playmakers? Who are going to be those guys who step up and make big plays? Simply put, who is going to replace the production, especially on the outside? Oh, by the way, you also lose Juice Wells, who did not play last year, but at one point, South Carolina thought he was going to return. That was going to be a huge boost for the Gamecocks. And of course, instead, he is now at Ole Miss. My first bold prediction is this, that the next 1,000-yard wide receiver at South Carolina is on the roster currently. And his name is Nicholas Harbor. Nicholas Harbor will become the latest 1,000-yard receiver in Columbia, South Carolina. Guys, you look around that room. I think first off this, the Gamecocks did a pretty solid job going out in the transfer portal, getting some replacements, getting some guys who should be able to make some immediate impacts. You look at the kid, Jared Brown, they picked up from Coastal Carolina, some others as well. You look at some of the youngsters that I think are poised to step up, but none have the talent and the capabilities that a Nicholas Harbor has. Guys, you look at last year, and I think fans needed to come into the season with realistic expectations for Nick Harbor last year, because this was a guy, admittedly, played mostly defense during his time in high school. He's a track guy, not a wide receiver by trade, and last season was going to be a season in which he learned the nuances of the wide receiver position, the ins and outs of playing wide receiver at the SEC level. Also, suffered a couple injuries, right, that made him miss a game or two, and certainly he was limited in fall camp last year, kind of was slow out of the gate going, if you will. But once he got going, I think we saw flashes, right? Had 1 catch for 45 yards in the game against Florida, 2 catches for 50 yards in the game against Mizzou a week later. Then a week later, his breakout game, guys, 6 catches for 59 yards against the Texas A&M Aggies. He did have 1 touchdown in the season. Granted, it came against Furman from LaNorris Sellers, who will be the Gamecock starting quarterback this year more than likely, what was surprising to me was at the end of the season. Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Clemson. We didn't really see a lot from Nicholas Harbor. 2 catches for 34 yards in those 3 games. But make no mistake, I think Nick Harbor, I think he is going to be wide receiver 1. This is the reason why you brought in a guy like this to step up and show out and be that dude for you. And I will not be surprised at all if Nicholas Harbor becomes the latest 1,000-yard receiver for South Carolina and certainly becomes the number 1 threat on the outside for the Gamecocks. My second bold prediction, and let me say this, guys, by the way, let me stop before I go into this one. When we're talking bold predictions here, these are not necessarily things I am locking in saying 100% they're going to happen. These are things that could happen, and some of them, while they may sound outlandish, they're bold predictions. Emphasis on the bold. I had to get that out there before this second one because my second bold prediction for South Carolina this season, the Gamecocks finally, after 5 long, frustrating years, finally snap their streak against the Missouri Tigers. And guys, Mizzou is going to be a team this year. I think they're going to be fantastic. Brady Cook returning, Luther Burden. I think the defense still has an opportunity to be really good despite the loss of Blake Baker, the defensive coordinator. Guys, none of that even matters. What matters is this. Eli Drinkwitz owns South Carolina. And there are numbers, there are results on the field that back up that opinion. Guys, Eli Drinkwitz, you go back and look at Drinkwitz. Even in 2019, when he was the head coach at Appalachian State, he went into Williams-Brice Stadium and beat Will Muschamp's South Carolina Gamecocks. Then he takes over the Missouri job. Hasn't lost to South Carolina since. I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's some voodoo doll that or some sort of curse that Eli Drinkwitz, some sort of hex he put on South Carolina. But it just seems every time these two teams get together, for whatever reason, Missouri, at least lately, has had the upper hand. Guys, I think 2 years ago, when South Carolina was rolling, they were nationally ranked. Here comes Missouri to town to Williams-Brice Stadium. You looked at that game as South Carolina was favored in the game. There was an opportunity for the Gamecocks to build some real momentum. And what did they do? Nobody was picking Missouri. All Missouri does was come in, punches South Carolina in the mouth, and wins that football game. So, and I admire the fact, too, that there are people that pick South Carolina to win this game every single year, despite the fact that for whatever reason, Missouri owns Carolina. Well, you know what they say, guys. Streaks are made to be broken. The streak has to end at some point, and what better time for it to end for Shane Beamer, who I think desperately needs a win in this series. Desperately needs a win. You suffer 4 straight losses to the Missouri Tigers as head coach. Not exactly going to help your stock there in Columbia, South Carolina. So, the Gamecocks, they open up their November slate after a really tough October against Mizzou. South Carolina, after 5 long, frustrating years, finally gets the tiger-sized monkey off their back and takes down Eli Drinkwitz and the Missouri Tigers at Williams-Brice Stadium. And my third and final bold prediction for South Carolina in the 2024 season is this. LaNorris Sellers takes over as the Gamecocks starting quarterback, of course, replacing Spencer Rattler. And that's going to be probably the top storyline, the thing we're going to be talking about all season long. How is LaNorris Sellers able to replace Spencer Rattler in regards to production? Can he be as productive, if not more productive, than what Spencer Rattler was a season ago? Because despite the poorest record, despite the results, Spencer Rattler was one of the most valuable players, I think, in college football to his team. And you look at the numbers, guys, they were outstanding, especially through the air. Now, a lot of questions for South Carolina as well will revolve around the offensive line. Can they piece that offensive line together and get just enough? The running game was abysmal a season ago. And you saw the rushing ability of Lenoris Sellers last season. I know it was against Vanderbilt. I get that. But when Lenoris Sellers popped off for that, I think it was like 40-yard touchdown run or something like that, you saw the speed, you saw the physicality, right? He's a big kid. You saw the agility, you saw the mobility. My third and final bold prediction is this. Lenoris Sellers rushes for 750 or more yards for South Carolina. Now, that may sound absurd. That may sound ridiculous. And I understand the Gamecocks added Rocket Sanders from Arkansas. And they added other running backs as well. Oscar Attaway from North Texas, a South Carolina State transfer. They added multiple pieces. But hear me out on this. And Lenoris Sellers can throw the football. Let's go ahead and get that out there, right? He's not just a one-dimensional guy who can run it, but he struggles to pass. I think Lenoris Sellers is going to prove to people he's actually a very capable passer. But I think they're going to use his legs a lot. I think you're going to see the scrambling ability on display. Also, guys, I think Lenoris Sellers, he is a young quarterback, right? With a lot of young quarterbacks, the first instinct is when things aren't there, when the first read isn't there, to tuck it and run. And I'm not saying that's a negative or a bad thing. It just is what it is. I think you're going to see that a lot from Lenoris Sellers. I think there's going to be a lot of designed runs, right? And I still have questions, admittedly, about South Carolina's running back room. Rocket Sanders has got to stay healthy. Oscar Attaway, how does he transition from North Texas to the SEC? How does the rest of the room fare? And is South Carolina able to just line up and run it conventionally, or does 16 need to be that guy to get outside the pocket and make some plays? And I think he will do that. I think he'll have to do that. Expect a big year on the ground from Lenoris Sellers. I think he's going to bring a totally different dynamic to this South Carolina offense. And I think you're going to see this offense look different than what it did with Spencer Rattler at the helm. So, guys, my three bold predictions for the Gamecocks entering year 4 of the Shane Beamer era. Number 1, Nicholas Harbor becomes the latest 1,000-yard receiver in Columbia. Number 2, Carolina finally snaps their streak against Missouri. And number 3, Lenoris Sellers rushes for 750 or more total yards. Guys, that's going to do it all for me. Appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Hit that bell icon as well so you get notifications of when we go live and when we drop new video content, which is each and every single day. Also, guys, check us out on social media, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you get your content. You can also check out the podcast, which drops daily, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, check out the website, SECUnfiltered.com, for all the latest from us. As always, guys, I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the other side.